Crandall is a small town in southern Indiana, 20 miles west of New Albany and 8 miles north of Corydon. Cornelius Crandall platted this community in June 1872. 10 years later, the Southern Railroad line was completed through the south end of town. Originally, Cornelius Crandall laid out 33 building lots and 2 streets. Today, Crandall, Indiana is a town of 60 residential properties, a general store, a bank, a post office, and a Farm Bureau outlet. It has 7 streets in town, and Highway 335 South running through the town adjacent to the railroad. Crandall is a town whose residents take pride in their well-kept homes and community spirit. Today, Crandall has no industry, but from 1919 to 1933, it was the site of 2 well-known hatcheries, one of which was the largest in the country. The Southern Railroad has always been important to Crandall. Until the development of roadways, the railroad provided transportation for residents and the shipping route for newly hatched chicks. Today, the Southern is a freight line exclusively, but the sounds of the train are still very much a part of Crandall. In June 1986, 7 longtime residents of Crandall were interviewed and their recollections were videotaped. These residents represent life in Crandall over the past 82 years. The following are excerpts of those interviews having to do with schooling, entertainment, work, memorable events, and these residents' feelings about living in Crandall, Indiana. Where did you go to grade school?
Right down here in the little one-room schoolhouse.
Now, is that what we know as the community hall?
No, no, it was torn down. This was built in 1913.
Okay.
And I went to, the first year there was 85 in that one-room school for 8 grades.
For 8? Where exactly was this school, this first school?
Right on the grounds where this one sits.
Okay.
They tore it down.
In the same area. Now, was this the school that was called the Knowledge Box? Have you ever heard that term?
Yes, but I don't believe this is the one that they call the Knowledge Box. That was somewhere over here in the country.
Okay.
Dome wrote about that,
mm-hmm.
and that wasn't our school.
Okay.
This was, I don't know when this school was started, because that was back in 1909 that I started, and it was a new school.
Mm-hmm.
And then we went to, then they tore that down and rebuilt. Mm-hmm. And then we had 2 rooms.
All right. Where did you go to grade school?
Here at Crandall.
And where was the school at that point?
Well, it was right in the middle of Crandall. That's what the school was.
Okay. Is that the place that's now known as the community
Yes.
hall? Okay. And where did you go to high school?
New Salisbury.
Okay. Now, at this point in time, you were living in Crandall.
Yes.
So you just had to walk up the street to go to grade school?
Yeah.
And how did you get to New Salisbury for high school?
Walked
How far of a walk was that?
5 miles a day, 2.5 miles each way.
2.5 miles each way. And did you go every day?
Every day. I don't know as I missed a day.
Oh, that's wonderful. And for 4 years?
4 years.
You walked 5 miles a day to go
Yes,
to
ma'am.
school in all weathers.
Yes, ma'am.
How many students were in your school, say here in Crandall?
Oh, in my class we averaged about 4 to 5.
Okay. And were all the grades in one room?
No, it was 2 rooms.
2 rooms.
The first, second, third, and fourth. And in the little room, they called it, and the 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th was in the big room.
Okay. So you had 2 teachers then?
Yes.
Do you remember some of the activities that you had while you were at school?
Well, just the ordinary kids played baseball a lot, and something like that. That's about all.
Did everybody in school get to play?
Just about, yes.
So you let the girls play too?
Oh, yes, yes. The girls, they played on our team, a lot of them. We had some good girls, good ball players.
What happened when you went to high school?
Well, I played basketball and baseball there.
Okay.
Yes.
And so sometimes you'd have to stay after school in order to do those things.
Most of the time I walked home and then walked back again to play basketball. I had cows to milk at home.
What kind of entertainment did you have when you were growing up in Crandall?
Not much. There'd be a medicine show come through during the summer, maybe for a couple of weeks, and that'd be it.
Would you tell me about a medicine show, please? What was?
Well, it was usually, some guy, he sold all kinds of animals, cure everything, you know.
Right.
And he's usually a magician or a comedian. They'd usually have a comedian or something like that.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, how many people were in a medicine show? Just one
Usually
person?
it was probably a family, you know, maybe a man and his wife and a couple of kids or something like that.
And they'd come and stay for a period of time?
Yes, ma'am, a couple of weeks. So,
How did they travel?
all they had old trucks and had a tent. That's where they had the show under, a tent. It all probably hold 50 people, something like that.
Mm-hmm. Any other kinds of entertainment you remember?
Not much, just loafing.
Just loafing.
Yeah. The stores was always full. The evening, you know, the farmers would all be in of the night. Sat around and talked, and that was about it.
What kind of entertainment did you have when you were going in grade school and high school?
Well,
What'd you do for fun?
there wasn't anything, where to go much. Well, I'll say this. Our house was a stomping place for most of it.
Okay.
Our upstairs, when Dad built it, he didn't wasn't able to finish it. He just didn't have no petitions. And nearly every youngster in the community at that time learned to roller skate in our upstairs.
Oh.
How my mother ever stood it, I'll never know. But not only the little ones, but the big ones. And you can see those windows down there. They come down almost to floor level. And us kids skated up there, and never a kid ever went through one of those windows. And how it ever happened, I'll never know.
Yes.
Because there wasn't no bars on them or anything.
Mm-hmm.
And Dad had a skating rink in the early days, and before he went to railroading. And he had the skates, and we'd just bring them home. They'd bring them home. And the big girls, the little girls, everybody learned to skate there.
Did the boys skate too?
Oh, yes. My brothers were good skaters, every one of them. And we had the skating rink as long as that lasted. Well, when it was gone, that was it. Once in a while, there was a Charlie Dick motion picture come to town. He had a tent, and he'd set up the magic lantern and show pictures. And then they gathered our house. We later we had the piano as the kids got older, and the girls in the crowd that we could play, they'd gather there and sing and play and carry on. And we played cards. We played Arthur's and what's the other one? Casino. And all kinds of cards. And usually popped popcorn and had apples and pears and things out of the bait cellar to go get to eat, and crack nuts and pick out. Wintertime we sleigh rided, and they all carried their wet clothes into our house and spread them on around the stove.
What was the best sledding? What hill did you use?
The street. Then we started here at the church, and we'd go all the way to the railroad track. And we'd get out Sunday and walk and go, get out and just kill time out looking around and gang up and walk up one way of the railroad or maybe out the other way to the bridge. We walked to the bridge, the railroad bridge, and back. And there just wasn't anywhere to go.
Eventually you came to Crandall. Now, I understand you had a very special occupation in Crandall.
Yes, I was telephone operator.
Right. How did you learn how to do that?
Well, just went in there under someone else, and she showed me what to do and how to do it, and it didn't take long to learn.
Is that the reason you moved to Crandall? Okay, and you were telephone operator here for how many years?
Well, altogether, I worked here, I guess, about 25 years. But I didn't work steady all that time. I worked, I think, about 10 or 11 years, and then someone else took over for a while, and then I went back again.
Do you mind if I ask you what your salary was as a telephone operator? Do you remember?
Well, I lived in the house where the equipment was.
Oh.
And then I never did pay very much, so I didn't get very much, but still I had a home and a job that could take care of it.
And how many hours a day did you work?
I worked from 6 o'clock in the morning until 10 o'clock at night. And then I was on emergency calls all night long.
After, we had a store, and I worked in the store with my husband.
Okay.
And then after we had that store for 12 years, and then after we sold the store, we had a hatchery, and I worked at the hatchery. He worked at the bank, and I took his job at the hatchery.
Meaning you did what? What did you do at the
I did the book work and helping with the shipping of the chickens, taking care of the orders and the mail.
How many chicks did you generally have in your hatchery?
Well, we had 2 hatches a week, and we had a capacity of 105,000 eggs, I think. Well, that's a small hatchery.
Is it really?
Uh-huh.
And you would have, out of that, eggs hatching twice a week?
Twice a week. And as soon as you get them shipped, you start again and they get ready for the next hatch.
To show you how totally uninformed I am, did you ship them before they hatched?
No.
After
No,
they hatched?
we shipped them the day they hatched.
Okay.
It was a busy day.
I bet. I bet. Could you get them to hatch, say, on Monday and Wednesday, or?
Yes, it takes so many days for them to hatch, and you knew what days they were going to hatch, and we'd have to get them ready for the trains. The trains would pick them up here, you know.
And how many of those would you ship at a time?
All we could hatch. That was at different seasons, you hatched a different amount of eggs. Now, in the fall, the eggs were hard to get because they don't lay as good in the fall as they do in the spring.
So you did the bookwork and you helped
I helped
pack
with the
them up
bookwork,
for
and the orders.
the orders.
And the men did the other work.
You were a busy woman.
Everybody worked there was busy.
Mm-hmm.
And then I had the family to take care of when I went home.
Anything else you want to tell me about your work
Well,
that
you
you've
see,
had over the years?
we bought the store then,
Which store?
down at where Gaithers have now.
I didn't know that.
Yes, we bought that store. And they called me back to work at the quartermaster, but my husband said, well, I can't run the store if you go, so I didn't take the job. So we had the store there for 10 years. And then my husband died. But I kept it a year after he died, and then I sold it.
And is that when the Gaithers bought
And
it?
I bought it, yeah, they bought it from me. James Gaither bought the store from me.
Well, now, when you owned the store, I bet you worked longer hours than part-time.
Yes, we worked full-time there at the store.
What time did you open it?
Well, we opened about 7 and closed about 8 at night.
Okay.
So I went to work
What did you do?
at the H.A. Simon Clothing Company down at Dixonville. And I did hand finishing, and I worked 34 years there. And
Do you remember what your starting salary was?
40 cents an hour.
And how many hours did you work per week?
Well, you was allowed 8
Eight a day.
hours a day, 40 hours. And if you worked the 40, but really the day was 7 hours and 15 minutes. That 45 minutes was considered a longer overtime, but you didn't get paid over for it. But we only needed 7 hours and 15 minutes, and that was $14.40 a week, or $16, whichever. Of course, it was piecework, and when you got fast enough, you could make more money than that. But that was the base pay, was 40 cents an hour.
Okay.
And I was there 34 years.
Well, once you moved to Crandall, then did you travel back and forth?
Oh, yes. Yes.
Did you ever have free time when you were doing all your housework without
Oh,
these
yes.
modern...
I belonged to the Home Ec Club, and then we had things that we do. We go to church socials, and we did a lot of things, free time.
Would you tell me a little bit about a home ec club? What is that?
Well, it was a home economics club that it was a group of people in the county, and we'd meet once a month, and they discussed all sorts of things, and then we'd have a meeting in the fall, and we'd make gifts and take them, and for prizes, and
Now, did you meet here in Crandall?
no, we met at, let's see, that was at Croydon when we had this,
Okay.
but
And so you would drive to Corydon
Yes.
once a month. And you said that you had all kinds of topics that you discussed. Can you remember any of
a lot
them?
of them was things that we would make, all kind of food and clothing and all that sort of thing we discussed. And,
Okay.
and then we would make them and take this in Croydon. We had it in the fall, and then we had and we had demonstrations. We demonstrate things. I know one time we demonstrated a school lunch, and we'd have things like that, and we'd get up and tell how to do it.
Well, this was a friendship quilt that we had in our home ec club. And this was made in 1933. And my mother set it together, and I made a block, but she didn't like the block I made. And she said, well, I'm not going to put that block in there. So she didn't. Now that was her.
This is your mother's
That was
block
my
right
mother.
here.
Uh-huh.
Bring it over like that. Okay. And that is her autograph in
Uh-huh.
there. And then did she embroider that
Uh-huh.
autograph?
Mhm.
Okay. So everyone who contributed a block signed that block and then embroidered it.
It started out as a birthday. When the members of the club had a birthday that month, everybody had a block piece, and took it to club. And then when your month come around, you see you should have about enough blocks there to make a quilt. And we thought that was a nice idea.
Okay. Now tell me a little bit about this home ec club.
Well, that was way back in 1933. Now we have we call it the Home Demonstration Club. And it's very much like this. We have different kind of lessons that a couple of members will go each month and those are given down at Corrigan. And people that know more of what they demonstrate, and they show you what to do, like weaving, maybe knitting, maybe crocheting, and then caning chairs, and a lot of goodies like that. And of course we didn't have crock pots then, but now then we've got crock pots, and they was a demonstration on telling you how to cook in that. And that's interesting.
Yeah.
And that's...
Well, now, all the people who signed and made one of those blocks, were they all from Crandall?
No. It's the surrounding community.
Because for the home ec club, you had to go to Corrigan to meet. Is that what you're saying?
Well, not to meet. We met at the different homes.
Okay.
We met at the different homes then. But they would be one or two go to get the lesson and then bring it back and tell them.
Well, the doctors really didn't have too much to do. Now, when the flu was around in 1973, Dr. Glenn come clean over to New Salisbury, and we go north to the Whiskey Run Road, and then come back up there. That was one day's trip. We had a different shape from every one. Good place. And that was something they couldn't... I don't know, that got in such a shape that they couldn't find that medicine cure. That's kind of like the AIDS is now. I don't think they're going to get
Was it epidemic proportions around here?
What, the flu?
Yeah.
There's only one family that I ever knew that didn't have it. There's his son and his mother and dad lived right below us. And they did have it. But I saw 7 pass our house one day. Get buried. The whole family but one little girl, 3 months old. Small girl. That's a good thing.
Yeah.
See the hearse go through, and then here comes the family with all farm wagons, 2 coffins in each one of them. Boy, that makes your hair stand on.
Yes, let's focus on that.
Well, now we had several things. One time we had a big camp meeting down there. Now that was special for Crandall.
And where was that?
It was down on the ground where now the playground. That was the church down there.
Oh, it was a church?
We had a United Brethren church down there.
Is that where the church was?
Well, no, it was below there. It was on the ground, so it was next to the... Yes, we had a United Brethren church and a Methodist.
Okay.
And then they combined, and they...
But the tent meeting was down there.
Yes.
How long did it go on?
About 2 weeks.
Do you remember when this was? What year, maybe?
No, I don't know the year, but I know about the age of the kids that were here. It might have been in the 30s, 40s.
What happened at a tent meeting?
Well, nothing special. We just had a minister who came and just preached and
Hymn singing?
hymns, yes, hymn singing. Yes, we had a lot of hymn singing. That's another thing that was fun in our lives. We had a male quartet here, and then we had a mixed quartet. And they have hymn sings all over the county. And we would go to them, and I would play for the ones who would sing. And we had so much fun at those hymn sings.
How would you describe Crandall as a community?
Well, I like Crandall as a community. I think it's a wonderful place to live.
Okay. Why?
Well, the people are friendly, and they're all good, and they'll help you in any way they can. And we all just sort of go together. If one needs help, somebody else will come in and help you, and we'll do the same to them.
And that's an excellent reason.
It's an excellent reason.
So
We have wonderful people in Crandall.
you like Crandall.
I love Crandall.
How do you feel about Crandall?
A long time later. Glad I stuck with it. I've never looked at anything. I've always loved this place. My wife did too.
And why did have you really loved it throughout the years?
Everybody was so friendly. We just like brothers and sisters.
How do you feel about Crandall?
Well, you know, I don't want to leave Crandall
Why?
because I've always been here, I guess. I guess that's the main reason. And I hope that I don't ever have to leave, but we never know. When you get up as old as I am, you know, anything can happen any time, and you might have to. But I've spent a lot of hours here, and a lot of them, and it's a good place to live.
Why?
Well,